Venezuelan influencer telling people on media, on the social medias, telling people, oh, go ahead, do this. Go squat on houses, and it'll be your house.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Yeah, no,
what,
that's
what are you
madness.
talking about?
Whoever you are,
And it's not.
chill out.
Bienvenidos a un episodio más de Atlanta Dulce Hogar, un podcast dedicado a bienes raíces, comprar, vender e invertir. En esta ocasión tengo el placer de tener conmigo a Esteban Carson, o Steven Carson.
Hola, Atlanta.
Thank you so much, man, Steven, for coming here. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate your time, so we can make this episode. And I wanted to talk to you about squatters.
Oh, wow. Spicy. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go.
I want to give you this introduction a little bit. But the first thing, before we start anything, what are 3 things that you must have in your house? Like plumbing or electricity.
Like most important or the like?
Nah, 3 things that you want to have in your house. 3 things.
I like natural lighting.
I
like natural lighting.
So like those overhead.
Like windows. I like big windows and like the sun to be like the house to be in the right position.
I would have never thought you would think of that.
A tankless water heater.
What?
I love long showers and.
Wow, I would never thought that you would mind some of those things.
Probably just like upright, like interior. Like lighter wood, lighter walls. I like
good
bright
taste.
And lit up things. I like that.
Nice. Hey, who knew?
Yeah.
So, going straight to the point. One of the things I want to tell you about squatters is that I'm from Venezuela. I'm from Latin America, and we don't like them either, right?
Yeah, it's a problem.
But one thing about them is that over there, I used to work as a real estate agent too. Mainly rentals.
Yeah.
Like it is more common because other things going on over there. But one of the things that and my mom, that I was in a family company, let's say, that we would do only rentals for companies.
Yeah.
Because companies don't have children. If you do to a natural person, they have children, and then the government defends them. So what people were doing, that's a socialist, communist government, and what the government does is like, they take the house away from you because that person is like, oh, poor me, I don't have a place to go, poor me. And it's like, well, like I trusted you. We did this, and he's a kind of squatter. I would call him.
So they give them the house.
Yes, because
I
don't.
Like
they
legally,
legally,
like it's not their house now.
No, it's not now their house,
Okay,
but it's like something that it would be a pain in the butt. In the butt.
I saved his career there.
Thank you. To kick him out.
Yeah.
Like to, I just not reject them. To evict them. Thank you. To evict them. It would be a pain. So like. Yep. So people. Now I rented to a company. We weren't aware that you had kids, or we weren't aware that you might bring, and it is rented to a company. So that way you avoid the pain. So, what do you think about squatters?
Man, this is a tightrope here.
Yes.
Oh, this is a tightrope. Some people, I mean, most people's like knee-jerk reaction is violence usually.
It's violence.
Violence
of course.
the thing, and I mean, who's to say oh, I walked in my house and someone had a gun and I shot him. I don't know what happened, man.
Oh, because
what are they
of
gonna
the
do,
First
testify?
Amendment
But without getting canceled here.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, the correct way is to go about the legal process of it. But a lot of people, this is probably why violence occurs so much, is because it's a difficult system, and the owner themselves gets screwed out of it.
Yeah.
And then people wonder, and I've actually looked up what was the origin of squat. Like why is there protection for when you have, especially in America, where property rights in America is supposed to be this big thing. You can have unrelinquished rights to your property.
Yeah, like no trespassing. You put
Yeah,
no
and they're
trespassing.
like it's your.
You better not trespass.
It's like a big thing in America, but now we have this we have squatters' rights. Like, why is it a thing? And initially, at least in America, came down from when the system of feudalism in England started to transition over to more of the common era that we have today. Okay. So where we had precedents for laws, and then property rights began to change over from more of this feudal system to more of a privatized system where individual owners were more compelled to owning property than a select few. To so what would end up happening is that you would have generations and generations pass by of maybe past feudal lords or very wealthy families that would own land in England and hundreds and hundreds of years would go by. And then the great, great, great grandson of X, Y, and Z who used to own all this land, and technically, it's been passed down. Maybe an entire town or a small city has been put up in this place, and this guy comes through and goes, "Well, I own this now. You guys are on my land." So the squatters' rights was enacted as initially, because that was so problematic in England as that was changing over into the modern era we have now, and it's carried over into U.S.
law. You tell me that, and that's how Miami was built.
Yeah, yeah.
Miami was built by the drug lords.
Yeah.
During the 80s, they built to watch their money. Mm-hmm. They built so many buildings, skyscrapers, and after they were caught, they say, "Oh, sorry, all this real estate is ours, the government, because you guys did this with dirty money."
It's with dirty money, and they take it back.
But going to the squatters, it's amazing how you say this, and then here in England, one thing, the monarchs, right? And
that's so far back, and now it's not that case at all.
Not at all.
You rarely, especially in America, you just don't have the age of the country itself isn't
But I was reading
for that to make sense.
If you spend 20 years in a house,
without
interruption, no weeks, no month interrupted,
you had adverse
20
possession.
years, you gain possession right away.
Yeah, adverse possession.
And it
also works.
That's what it's called.
And this is a cool thing with adverse possession. Say you had a shed on someone's land, and you kept it there forever, and you never really knew. The neighbor never really said anything.
Yeah.
It's not always you're just staying in someone's house, and you're like, hope they don't come. And, just the 20-year mark hits, and you get it. And it can happen from any kind of legal notice, can reset the timer, get off.
Oh, reset.
And the timer does not, I don't think it resets from the initial encounter. So say it's been 23 years and your shed's been sitting on this other person's land. At that time, if they say they're selling their house or you're selling their house, and they're like, well, this is actually my shed. This is, my piece of land.
Well, what kind of shed are we talking about?
It's just, a work shed or something, nothing
Some
weird
shed.
going on in the shed. And you say that the problem's been made. Mm-hmm. The timer doesn't reset there if you go and enact the adverse possession at that time. So say they're like, this is my shed, you need to get it off, and you're selling the property. You can then, it's that time or never to decide whether you want that piece of land. And the reason people wouldn't is like something like taxes. You would have to pay the taxes too, right? On something like that. An easement is different. So adverse possession is
but I mean,
you own it now.
Like if you are on somebody's land for so long that ends up being yours if you don't record that.
Yeah. If it's kind of I don't know what originally happened, but there was a lot of it's kind of why the Wild West died.
Oh, well, I've been here for 20 years. You didn't say anything, so now it's my land.
Yeah, and so basically make a formal claim.
It's kind of a squatter.
You've been taking care of the land for X, Y, and Z amount of time, and then you take it over by there. So, but it is different from squatting because it's basically negligent on the original owner. Like 20 years, I get it. Like in 6 months, you're like, get this shit off my land. But 20 years, it's just to keep the value and the working of the land.
Comparing to Venezuela, that's where I come from, and it's obvious for me, or not obvious. Like that's the only thing I can compare. I mean, I live there. I'm from there, and one of the things here is that you don't get that in Venezuela. Like, oh, I'm going in front of somebody's house, and I remember it used to be, they call it invaders. Yeah. They don't call it squatting because they're really invading your house or your property. And
pretty much.
And it's so amazing and it's so crazy how the government would not approve, but sort of like defend that. It's like, oh, you have land in there and you're not doing anything with it. Yeah. Might as well. Yeah. It's like, well, but somebody paid me for it. Or if I don't want to do anything with my land, why do I have to do something with my land?
Have you seen the recent article where the lady, what was it, like New Jersey and New York? Mm-hmm. Where did she get killed? I think she got killed. I don't know. We have both our phones recording, so we can't pull it up. Yeah. But something happened up there, and I think it does come down to the state here. So it's more of a state issue.
One of the things
depends where you are.
Why I brought up this topic is because there's been an influencer, Venezuelan influencer, telling people on media, on the social medias, telling people, oh, go ahead. Do this. Go squat on houses, and it'll be your house. Yeah. And it's like, no. Yeah, no, what are you talking about?
Whoever you are.
And it's not.
Chill out.
And it's not the right way to do things. It is very much against the law. I was looking for the police to see. Police doesn't get involved, but the sheriff does. The sheriff does get involved in whatever, and they will kick you out of the house if the person proves that it's their land and these people is squatting on my house.
So what do kids have to do with it?
Kids?
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying about the kids because in Venezuela, if you rent
and you have kids,
the government will not evict you if you don't want to pay, if you don't want to do anything. The government supports, the communist government supports.
Do they pay over the landlord? Like, do they pay the landlord?
No, or it's just like they just stop paying, and you cannot evict them because they have kids, and you cannot evict anybody that have kids. That's why you do the contract, the rent. That's the thing that you don't know.
True.
So now you rent to a company as a non-natural entity. Yeah. Meaning like you rent to a company. Yeah. That is not gonna have an enterprise. That is not gonna have a kid. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know. Let's say Century 21 is the renter or is the tenant. Sorry, is the tenant. Then it's gonna have Junior Century 21 Junior. No. So it's not going to be a human being.
Are they companies that people work for?
Yeah. Okay. Like then, okay, if you don't want, then you make it. You don't have a company, then you form a company, and I'll rent you through the company.
And then you can evict the company.
Yeah, but if I rent it to Pedro Perez or to John Smith, John Smith is able to have human beings.
I thought you meant like the companies owned a bunch of property like they do here, where you have like a company owning 1,000 properties, and that's what you were talking about. Okay,
no, you rent like you are the landlord, and you can be a natural person, but then you go ahead and rent it as a tenant to a company instead of a person.
Yeah.
So that's the way they avoid them not getting their money or their house back, having to evict somebody. But then squatting is something else. Is that you almost invade that place. You're like, oh, that place is not occupied or it's been abandoned or whatever. You never know what's going on with that land or with that property. And this influencer, I don't know, this social media guy was saying, if you see that it's alone, go in there. And it's like, no. And if it says no trespassing, in the U.S., because of the Second Amendment, you're very much allowed to say, hey, these people were in my land, and it says no trespassing. I can shoot them, right?
You cannot shoot. You cannot shoot people just for trespassing.
Oh, okay.
You can shoot people if they break into your house while you're in it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, if you shoot someone on your front lawn, you better like drag them in or something. No, don't follow my advice, but
okay, no, don't
drag them inside.
Don't follow our advice for police
don't just
or for
shoot
anything.
people.
Call 911.
You cannot shoot people on land unless they're threatening you. Unless they're like you can tell them to leave, and you can call either like a game warden if you're like out in the country, a game warden, the police, and they'll come and they'll remove the person.
Oh wow!
But you can't just blast them and bury them under a tree.
I've said this before in the podcast. But I met God in a final walkthrough.
In a final walkthrough?
Yes, I know. I know I didn't say it to you, but this is why I say it this way. So I go to the final walkthrough. I see a lady sitting on the front porch, like it has some steps in there. And I go on the side of the house, go through the side of the house. It was open. It was supposed to be a lockbox in there, and I get the key and open, just like we do when we show in the house. I was doing the final walkthrough. I go through her, and I asked her, excuse me, ma'am. Final walkthrough, and from there, we go into the closing office, right? To the closing attorney's office. And I asked the lady, excuse me, ma'am, who are you? And then she says, I am God. And I go, okay, I say, okay, we just sold this house and we need you to leave because I explained to her what I was doing. She says, I am sorry, but I am God and I bought this house cash. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Thank God the listing agent was married to the former sheriff or somebody that worked in the sheriff's department. Because again, the only people that will help you with squatters is the sheriff's department. And the crazy thing is that they took her out, and it's like, oh yeah, this lady goes around. This is in Griffin, goes around for empty houses or for houses that are for sale, vacant, and then she goes in there and lives there for a while.
Yeah,
she's a professional squatter.
I had a bunch of kids in one. When I unlocked the door, and they were this isn't like squatting so much as kids. This will happen on a lot of listings sometimes, not like very, very frequently, but it's like why you don't leave windows unlocked or doors, because sometimes as a squatter, that's like worst case scenario, and then you can't.
But we're very much protected here in the U.S. for that, right? I feel like
kind of.
I mean, compare with again.
I think you should just pick the person up and throw them out of the window, kind of thing. And they want to do something about it. You can beat the crap out of them, but you gotta call the
Don't
cops.
take our advice.
Don't take it. It's all jokes because we have to disclaim that now. But I'm like, I guess the reason being is they don't want like there to be an escalation, and then there's just 2 dead people. Because they like escalate.
Please don't get in trouble. Call the police. Call the sheriff.
But
I mean, I'm against squatting too. I'm against invasiones. I'm saying in Spanish too because really, like, it is possible to get your own property and to buy. There's so many programs right now. Like everything is. there's programs that give you 5% towards closing towards
There's
down
also
payment.
millions and millions and millions of acres of national forest.
Yeah, right.
You can camp out in them.
you can camp in them, right?
It is one of the fundamental things that make the country what it is.
Especially to that.
When you have like one where you have a girl who came home from vacation, and I mean, God knows what people are gonna do. I think one lady got killed by squatters, and it's just especially if you're doing any kind of renovations or flips or rental, and it's going to be vacant for some period of time.
Yes.
And you are a girl, I would have an air of caution, especially before going into places.
So many
because they can have people. If you're a guy, usually most squatters don't have anything. For the simple reason that they did.
Yeah.
Someone just blasted them. Who's gonna testify? The dead person with a gun?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So a lot of people won't carry it for the specific reason that they know you can't do anything about it. But I mean, there goes in like it's all kind of weird situations. You have it when people have like violent encounters because they go in, they get scared. I mean, you get freaked out. And it's not that the person's like innately against it, but you have a human being and you're like going at night at something. There's a human being in there, and you have whatever you have, and you just let it rip, kind of thing. It's a very quick situation. Super dangerous. But I mean, some people don't have time for this shit. They just think they're under attack and under duress, especially in rentals where the power's off. And people have turned them off. There are stories where people will go, the owner will go in.
Is this something you have heard before?
Yeah, I mean, it's happened a couple times, and you see it every so often where someone will walk in, and you walk in through like the corridors of a dark home.
Yeah,
it's at night. People. It's at the night in the morning, and you see just a human being comes out. Things happen. I mean, people get freaked out, and it's not what you should do. But in the heat of the moment, it's hard to say what happens. To people get beat up, people get shot, all sorts of things happen. So it's a dangerous situation for both parties. And
it is. And work for your stuff.
Yeah, it's just
work for your things. It is possible.
It's hard to defend that outside of situations where there's like gross negligence on the owner never coming back.
Yeah,
and someone I get like there being things like a mistake, or there's adverse possession, things like that happen quite frequently.
But that's
things like eminent domain where there's
that's rare, right?
There's something to initiate it, and that the owner has time to respond.
Okay.
And go back and forth, but just going in there and giving the owner no choices is kind of a ridiculous thing to say.
No, I don't agree with that.
You can't expect anybody to take your side.
I've known not people, but like I've known of places that has been squattered, and they just lose their places. Not in here in the U.S. Again, in Venezuela where home was, and really it's not necessary. I mean, you
a lot of times people do have kids though. So I mean, devil's advocate.
Yeah.
A lot of times people have kids. I think everybody thinks as this like druggy, aggressive person, like maybe even the person that you encountered, where it's just a sole person. They're just kind of
she was solo. She was solo.
But I mean, sometimes people have families, and it's like, then it's, I mean, obviously not the correct decision. There's a lot of decisions leading up to that decision, and it's really on your behalf still. But it's hard to see them having a different option if it is like a family of four.
What was the name of the movie for?
The one that they're foreclosing the 08 homes?
No, the one that, what is the name? Will Smith with the little kid, Chase of a Dream, something like that. That he goes to, there's places in the U.S. that if you have kids and everything, you go and you sleep in them. And then
I mean, there's Section 8 even.
Section 8.
Getting a Section 8 voucher.
There you go.
Yeah.
Section 8, that helps you with rent, right? There's so many helps out there. You don't need to be squatting. And if you are a Latin American person, or I'm going to talk for, because this person went viral.
Yeah.
The squatter. Not the squatter. He was telling people to go squat, to go get into houses without knowing the Because I know why he said that. Because in Venezuela, if you did that, I mean, nobody leaves their house alone in Venezuela. Like, I know so many people that lives here, that has properties in Venezuela, that they no, I let somebody. No, they don't leave the houses alone, because if somebody goes in there and they have a family, the government, the communist government, will be in favor of the squatter.
Is it really only Venezuela?
I can only speak
for
Venezuela.
Okay. Because I was like, in Colombia, there's a lot of Americans who buy houses in Colombia now.
I never
just for a vacation home.
Yeah, I never had experience in there for anything.
That definitely
in other countries
hinder
besides
people investing there, because if you're an outside investor, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, in Venezuela that happens. You leave somebody. Sometimes when there is like people that have like a lot of properties and they rent it or whatever, and they live outside. So what they do is that they pay the concierge of the building, or they have somebody that goes every day to the houses. It's not like, oh, once every month. No. Every day you go to the houses, because people is watching, man. There's so many lazy people that wants to get things so easy that they're watching, they're looking, they're seeing, they're studying the person and how long is he there, how long does he go back, like, So there's people that love doing. I mean, look at this guy. This guy didn't come with that idea just because he woke up one day and I'm gonna squat. No, he knew this, but he thinks that the U.S. laws are like the Venezuelan laws. And it's like, nope, over here, property is respected, is protected, and you need 20 years. And if you leave, if you skip 1 week, 1 day, you have to restart, right? So it's like 20 years living somewhere, so it's yours, and nobody says anything. It has to be a
formal objection. You could have like an argument about it, but if it's not formal... I'm pretty sure it just goes out the window for the lack of proof kind of thing.
Yeah. You need proof.
Or you could prove it, like a text message even would be something.
Like get off my land. That same thing happens when you have boundaries, right?
Yeah.
You have your lines, and there's a tree in there, and let's say you're a house, I'm a house, and I have a tree in my house, and it falls under your roof. It's like, it's not my fault. But if you ever see the tree and you be like, hey, Miguel, and then that one needs to be certified. Yeah. This one needs to be certified, though. Like, you sent it.
Oh, okay.
Like a certified mail.
Yeah.
And you say, hey, Miguel, please take a look at your tree next to my house because it seems like it's sick. You can say whatever. I'm just saying something. But you send me that, you get the certified mail, the USPS postal office gives you the certification that I received that mail, and then it falls under your roof, then it's my fault. So when you said that, it just reminded me of like, okay, if I tell you, hey man, I seen you in my house, you gotta get out of my house, that's already like reset 20 more years.
Wow.
It's too much, right?
Yeah. So
don't go to
it's more of a thing like on the Wild West when there was like, they'd have, surveys weren't a big thing, and you had people taking these huge chunks of land, and other people wouldn't be there forever.
Whoa.
And
that's what
people would just fence in everything and then claim it, and then other people would fence it back in. The first person that originally fenced it just did that and never came back. They went to New York or something. And I think that's where that became a bigger thing.
That's like the way it was the country borders were drawn back then. Like some people just, this piece.
Pretty much. I mean, there was a time where you literally, in American history, it was like you got to own your land. If you had to do like X, Y, and Z, but if you just fenced it in completely,
that's it.
It was now your land. Because there's so much land out in the West.
Still.
And so then, it happens all the time now for little things. It's not really huge swaths of land that ever happens for. Yeah. But it definitely still happens in modern day life.
All right. I think do you have anything else to say about squatting?
Don't squat.
Yeah, please.
If you walk in and see squatters, don't just blast them into oblivion. You'll go to jail. It's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Call the police.
The sheriff.
And then have them removed.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's
agree. Annoying. It's a stupid thing. Most of the time they had other options and they're screwing you over. But yeah.
That's right.
Just refrain from anything.
That's right. I agree. I mean,
don't beat the crap out of them either.
And if you're Venezuelan or anything or whatever you are, don't take advice from anybody that tells you go squat. It is against the law and you're going to get kicked out. So that was it. Thank you so much for being there. Esto fue Atlanta Dulce Hogar, un podcast dedicado a invertir, comprar y vender, dedicado a los bienes raíces. Thank you, Steven, for being here. Really appreciate you. Take care.